Hello, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're in the fourth of our series. It's the pre-NESARA timeline. So you're going through that timeline. You can see all of these of the series in the NESARA timeline playlist. So go through the playlist because you're going to have to go right through it. So we'll kind of do a quick overview, but very quick overview, because you'll want to really understand this. And we're going to go a little bit longer because I'm going to kind of give you an introduction in the Hope in the Last Days series. Okay, so that's coming right up. Okay, so let me bring it up here on the screen. It'll take me a second. All right, so here we go. So let's resume the slideshow so you get the idea. So here we are. So pre and post NESARA, we have the timeline. This is the very first one. We're going through you have January 2017 all the way through November. This is the Vegas false flag, the executive orders, the executive order 13848 and 13818, all the way through the preparation of JSARA inclusion, which is part of BRICS. And the Obama has been walking behind all of what's happening. The CARES 2 Act that starts the cover up of the Fed. This is what kills off all of the fun things that happen for the the Great Reset stuff, which starts off the COVID scam, Antifa riots, the Joe Biden as the allowance. He's the backup. He's like the fifth string quarterback kind of thing. And then they got the voter fraud and the election fraud issues, and it kills off the Great Reset, which devolves the corporation. Brings up into the second one, and then we devolve the government. So they devolve the government. Biden is arrested. The actors are told what to do. It remains the remaining deep state and the cabal are operating illegally under Trump's emergency orders. And we have the 17, the Q drops are ending under, and we kind of talk a little bit about how only Q can have the nuclear football. It's really funny. It's really, really absolutely amazing. If you watch Oppenheimer, the movie, actually they kind of admit that a Q clearance is the only way. When you have a Q clearance, that is a nuclear capability. None of these idiots, actors, have Q clearance. Tells you kind of something. Fake break-in, think Watergate, that happens on January 6th. The boomerang effect implicates Nancy, drunk Nancy, it makes the complicit nature of the Republicans and Democrats. That's why I don't trust in any one of them. And we have a Capitol shutdown. It wipes them out. You guys don't realize none of these idiots are even really there anymore. The cabal violates the Constitution over and over again. We have a fake inauguration, which leads to all showing off all of DC is really guilty now. Then we talked a little bit more about the fake administration doing their stuff. And this is why people, you guys get all upset about stuff, but don't worry about it, man. Everything that they do that, they have violated all of that stuff. And basically, if they do things that are fake, you rip it out. Okay. They worsen the economy. They're worsening the economy that you're going to rip off anyway. So it's just ripping off the old Band-Aid. So they're just trying to bring in their Great Reset, but we're not even going to take it. the military operation is taking out the dumps. They realized later on there were only they thought there was 10 nuclear weapons these were underground nuclear weapons that we thought they had, but they really had 14. So it kept going on. They have false flag agendas that they had to keep pushing. This is why we have the Ukrainian thing going on. And they normalized the pedo agendas. And this is why the school systems are so sick. The COVID narrative just keeps going on over and over again. And the businesses keep failing and inflation rising in the CBDCs, which has got to lead us out to the EBS. And then we come out to NESARA. Okay. Now, let's move in to post-NESARA. Okay. So let's walk into this one. So at some point or another, we have NESARA, JESARA. Okay. So once NESARA, JESARA is reached, when we have that thing happening, and the EBS is a cover for the beginning of some of that stuff happening. And we have the tribulation on the other side of this. Okay, we have a lot of people that think we've been through the tribulation. We will talk about that as we go along here. Okay. In the very beginning of this thing, there is post-NESARA chaos. Why do I say this? Most people who do not understand the book of Revelation, that there are literally 6 to 650 scriptures in end time issues that indicate a tribulation period. And they say, well, we're in the tribulation right now. And I'm going, bah humbug, we are not in the tribulation. You don't even understand it. I mean, I can count 3 or 4 truthers right now. They're trying to say we're in the tribulation, and I'm going, no, we're not. They haven't even read the book of Revelation. I kind of say to them, I have people that kind of push out there. We're in the 4th, seal. I go, where's the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd seal? And we'll talk a little bit about that here in just a minute. But because right after NESARA hits and the EBS hits, there's going to be chaos because people are looking around and have not understood what's happening. And you're going to have a whole bunch of people who do not get it. And so they're going to be walking around ticked off. A lot of these semi-awakened or unawakened people who are just barely awakened, watching the EBS with the voter fraud issues, just learning about them, or sort of have learned about it and now realize how bad it was, have learned the child trafficking, who are really going to be pissed off about that one. And then thirdly, have understood how gross the COVID agenda was through the vax issues and realized that they might have done this to their own children, have done this to themselves, have maybe given that thing to their own kids, to their wives, to their husbands, to their grandparents, whatever, to their employees. This kind of push and the guilt that's happening, or done this to themselves. That type of chaos are going to be looking to blame someone. And the blame is going to happen to, be pointing at one another. It's going to be pointing at government officials. You're going to have military walking around, in essence, around all over the place. And military knows this. This is why Trump has never had a war. And they have to be right here in America. And frankly, they're going to have to be in Spain for the Spanish people. They're going to have to be in Mexico for the Mexican people. They're going to have to be in Italy for the Italian people. They're going to have to be in their own country protecting their own people. Instead of out doing the wars, they're going to have to be in their own countries, just saying, hey, listen, we already took care of the idiots. Stop trying to throw bricks at the government buildings. Those people are gone. Okay, that's the chaos that I'm talking about. Now, the mainstream media and the government shakeups have the big parts would have already happened, but don't think that the mainstream media, there's small levels of stuff that would have already that will start happening even more. So think about, for instance, I live in Tulsa, and maybe smaller level things might also have to happen. So small level mainstream media, or if you're thinking about in your area, small towns who have media who bought into their own agenda and just never really talked back about this. And I was talking about this on a broadcast just the other day, or yesterday actually was, with Trina and Punisher Dallas. Is a couple of people, and it was just interesting. And I was thinking a lot about this, and so you have media people who listening to their producers and their bosses, and they don't have the gumption to speak against this. They know what the deal is. They see the incoming stories, but they don't have, the gumption to go, you know what? I'm going to say the truth here. And I'm not speaking those lies that I see anymore. And that's the kind of stuff that we're not seeing. School boards and city councils who know the truth, who are taking these ugly paychecks, the sicko things, that has to have that shakeup. And that's actually part of that chaos that's coming. The next part of that issue is we're going to have financial markets being rebuilt, because we have so many people who don't get it. And that is one of the problems that I see out there. There are so many people who I very much respect. Many of these financial people who kind of talk about the Great Reset. They're but I don't want to get into the names too much because I don't want to be too embarrassing to them, and I don't really like talking about people who at least are somewhat awakened, because they're at least saying some of the decent statement. But what they're doing is telling you about the bad that's happening. And they're telling you about the 150 stores or all of the stores of Tuesday morning that are closing, or they're telling you about all of these things that are happening. And what it turns into is just fear porn after fear porn. And they make you feel like, oh my God, everything is just bad, 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 bad. And it just makes you depressed. And it's like, when you listen to them, you got nothing but depression. And because what it is they're talking about, well, in October, and today is near the end. What is it? Today is the 26th of August. And we're talking about in September and October and November, and they're thinking about that, and they're thinking about the end of the year, and they're thinking about how the Fed is going to raise the rates. And you're going, how much higher can the rates go? And to you and me, I mean, there's almost, we are at, I mean, levels that can't go any worse than this. You guys don't realize, I mean, we are so close to the very end of this movie. I'm telling you, I mean, I know that you're saying, Scott, you talked about BRICS. After BRICS, this thing would be almost there. Yes, I know. But there's a point in time it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I'm not worried that it's not happened yet. It will happen. Be calm, okay? You're not going to know the minute and second, okay? Even in scripture, it says, no one knows the day or the hour. In essence, that's what we're dealing with here. Calm down. Do not get all upset about it. But a lot of those financial people are the people that we've been looking to in the past. Now we have to rebuild those financial markets because all of those people are going to be sitting there, and we've been looking to them to build the markets. Now we have to rebuild them, maybe without those people, because they're going to be sitting there with their eyes spinning. Okay. And we're going to have to be looking to new types of people who will help us rebuild it, because the other ones are either in prison, in Gitmo, or just can't imagine the NESARA kind of new markets that are happening, which again is part of the chaos thing. We're going to have to relearn the nation's histories. Now, I was talking to Mary Crowley, who is a producer. Excuse me. A producer, and there are whole bunches of producers who are creating amazing types of films. And there's way more people like this. And they've been producing docudramas, and they're really, really low budget things. We need big budget kinds of, at least bigger budget types of docudramas that need to come out. Instead of Marvel idiot movies out there that are just doing the woke, stupid stuff. We need big level things that are happening, because the nation needs to learn what the Titanic was really about. What happened at the end of World War II? What was going on in Korea? Why was the gas crisis happening? All of these different issues, or 9/11, all of these different time frames, what they really were about. And we're going to be looking at some of these areas to figure them out. And we need to have more information about that. Now, the other part of this thing is constitutional law. Now, I'm not putting these in any particular order, because you can't really put them in order in this way. We need to go back to constitutional, excuse me, constitutional, and for other countries, common law. Instead of this arbitrary level law that these idiots wanted to have out there, these Satanists, these pedos wanted to set up. I got beat up by someone who didn't like it when I called them morons and idiots. I'm going to keep calling them that because they're Satanists and pedos. Okay, we need to go back to constitutional law, which is the only fair way of doing this kind of thing. We need constitutional law. We need common law in all of the lands, which rips away some of these really disgusting laws that are out there. Okay. And we get back into like real level law that really protects the people and gets back into going, you know what, that is right and that is wrong with that. And we need to be rebuilding the nations. When you look around and you go, why is it that we have so much money given to Congress, and Congress never gets anything excuse me, sorry, never seems to get anything done? Or someone proposes a road project and they never seem to get it ever done. And that kind of stuff needs to stop. And that is part of the monies that is set aside to do some of this stuff. Okay, that's part of the Saint Germain Fund. That's part of the Rodriguez funds. There's a whole bunch of different funds that are out there to build new cities out there. And actually, Trump talked about this probably 2 or 3 months ago or so, and he was talking about new cities, not just building up the cities we have, but maybe even whole new cities with great jobs within those cities. Not just giving people money, but setting up new cities, not the 15-minute cities, not the idiot things that the Great Reset does, but the real cool new cities that we could have and have amazing things for the people with that. We need to rebuild the nations with that. And I'm going to share something with you as a church explosion. When we need to go back into what the real teaching of the gospel, we need to teach the word. So many churches have been, bringing in the sheep kind of messages, these messages that have not been in the word. And you might go, why are you talking about this stuff? This is very important. If we're not about the word, then we're not about anything. The Constitution really does talk about God. It talks about so much about a biblical level message, and most people don't really understand that. I know that there was a lot of other stuff in there as well too. So there was a conflict in there. But the reality is we need to have a foundation in the word again. And so many churches have lost their way, and too many people have left the church. And I believe that there is going to be pastors who are going to be walking. I have seen this over and again. They're going to be pastors who have not been awakened, and they have not been teaching the truth about the Great Awakening, and the stuff about Joe Biden and the other stuff out there, and they've been laughing at the silliness that they think they've been seeing. And so they've just been teaching the same stupid messages that they've been talking about here. And instead of been talking about the things that need to be happening. And so when this stuff happens, people are going to walk back into the churches and saying, why didn't you tell me about this? And those pastors, if they're not awakened, people are going to set them aside, and these churches are going to reform, and we're going to see a massive explosion of people coming to the Lord. And I believe that we're going to see a replacement of those, not a replacement theology, a replacement of new pastors, new teachers of the Word of God with that. So we're going to see a preaching of the gospel, and then the end comes. That's actually where it comes. But you know what? We need to have the resources to be able to do it. We've been poor for such a long time frame. We've been walking around in our poverty with that. And some of the resources that happen, we haven't had that. We've been in so much bondage. And that's a little bit about what NESARA is about. Some people believe it's just about for us to get just super wealthy. That's really not what it's about. I don't look at this, at the money that's going to be coming in, as for me to drive around in a more expensive car. It's not about that. It's about for me to be able to help people. It's about ways for us to be able to help one another, is to be able to do amazing things throughout the world, because it's going to take that. And we want to be able to do that. Major growth in that circumstance. Now, let's move forward to near the end part of this. In Isaiah 17, this is some of the end points. See, before we even this will be later on. So we have this time frame. There is a time frame that happens right here. So we have a time frame of preaching the gospel. So it could be months. I would perceive that it's possibly years, okay? But there will be a point in time that has to happen before the end. There will be a Damascus destruction. In Isaiah 17, Damascus will be, boom, gone up in smoke in a very short time frame. And there also has to be the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war, and I'll explain that here in just a minute, before we get to the Antichrist first seal. Those things all have to be happening before we get to the tribulation. The tribulation is a very important kind of thing there. Now I'm going to pull this away here because we're ending that part there. So let me kind of pull that away here and let me stop that. Let me remove that. Let me add this to the stream over here. We're going to kind of pull this up here and just kind of hop through here real kind of quickly here. And this is not perfect on the slide here. Let me pull this off here. Let me pull this up in another way here. It's easier to pull this up on the slide. So I think you'll like this as just a kind of a quicker reference point here. Okay, so I'm not going to do the whole thing on this, and we're going to okay. So you're going to see this come up on the screen here. So let me kind of bring that there. Here we go. Sorry, we got to do that one more time there. Always likes to make a mess of it at times. There we go. Okay. So show you a little bit about this. This is my Hope in the Last Day series, and I'm going to do this kind of quickly. You can watch the whole thing if you want to. I have another kind of thing. So basically, I'm going to kind of do this real fast here. You know, I mean, when we do this, realize that in the End Time series, 29% of the word really talks about end time issues, and so it's the heart of God. We actually talk about this, and it breaks the spirit of fear because so many people are so fearful about it. And we talk about the theories of the end, and we talk about the tribulation and millennial reign. Okay, so we're going to kind of skip over some of this stuff. And the reason for the hope is this. This is such a cool part here. Revelation 1:3 is the one who reads this, means the understanding, is blessed. Those who hear, which means attend and pay attention to, the words of this prophecy and keep, means to preserve it. What is written in it are blessed because the time is near. Man, if you will read it, pay attention to it, keep it in your heart, you are so blessed. That's why people pay attention to end time issues. There's a blessing. It's called the rapture of the church. The reason for this is the tribulation. It's not a decision. It's a judgment. It's not about judgment, excuse me. It's about a decision. Why is it 7 years? It's because Daniel 9:27 talks about this. There's such a lack of teaching in the church about this kind of thing. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about this. So a basic overview of this kind of thing is this. So I'm doing a real quick kind of viewpoint. Before the tribulation, this is kind of what we shared with you here too. Before the tribulation, you have to have the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war. We have the pre-tribulation rapture, and huge number of people are missing. At the beginning of the tribulation, we have the first seal. The false prophet shows up here. There's a confusion in the world, which sounds very similar to what we are actually dealing with. The 144 Jews coming in, and we have a different group of believers here. In that first half of the tribulation, there's famine, war, inflation, one world government, one world religion, one world currency. And by the way, I wrote this a long time ago. I mean, years ago. And people go, oh, that's what we're dealing with right now. And I'm like, no, we're dealing with mirrors of that effect. We don't have all of that. We don't have every bit of that. Why don't we have every bit of that? Because we don't have the first seal or the Antichrist. We have to have the Antichrist. We have to have the false prophet. Sorry, we have to have all of those. You have to have the 144,000 Jews. Because when we come to the middle of the tribulation, you have to have the trumpets beginning. Do you know what's inside of the trumpets? Let me just give you an example of some of the trumpets. See, some people are postulating we're in the middle of the tribulation. Do you know what happens in the middle of the tribulation? There is a huge, the fourth trumpet is this massive plume that shows up in the middle of the ocean. And you think, well, that's Maui. No, I'm talking about such a plume of an asteroid that hits down. And the fifth trumpet is called a murder trumpet. I call it a murder trumpet. It's where we would see zombie kind of people walking around where they couldn't die for 5 months. People will be trying to kill themselves and they won't be able to die for 5 months. Oh my God. Nothing like that could ever happen. We would have to have the two witnesses being around here, and the Antichrist would have to die and then rise again. We would have to have the mark of the beast showing up and the Jews running to the hills. And then in the second half of the tribulation, that's when we have the seals kind of getting worsening and the trumpets getting worse and worse, and we have death and global war killing billions of people. Have we had any of that stuff? Death and global war killing more and more people. And I mean, all of this stuff. I mean, tell me that we've had any of those kinds of things. Tell me that any of that stuff has occurred. If any of that stuff has occurred, I'll sit back and let you tell me one. Just tell me one of those things have actually happened in the world. Even tell me that we've had the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war, that we have a nuclear blast up in Russia, which is predicted. We haven't had that. At the end of the tribulation, there's a separation of the sheep and goats, and there would be the resurrection of the rest of the people. And there would be, this is what some people want to say that we happened in the NESARA time frame. There would be 1,000 years in complete peace. And there would be a white throne judgment. And there would be a last resurrection and the eternity with the bride in the temple. See, this is the kind of stuff, this is what the Bible says. And this is why some people want to bring out to us, want to bring things like, sorry, let me bring that out of there. This is why some people want to tell you that the Bible has 777 books so that they can destroy some of the concepts that are really in the true Bible, the 66 books of the Bible, because they want to say inside of them that it's really way deeper, and what you think you know, Scott, is not really true. And I'm like, so you just don't like the Bible? Is that what you're just telling me? You don't like what's really in the Bible? Yeah, but you just don't think you know, Scott. You just don't understand. Sorry, bud. The reality is I can prove the word. And if you don't believe I can prove the word, go in and go Truth and Lies and What We Believe and watch the first video in there. And the first, I can do it in 6 verses. And it's in John 19, 31 through 37. In 6 verses, I can 100% prove the Bible's never been rewritten, and it has medical information that has never been disproven. I can do this over and over again. In Ezekiel 38 and 39, it has cell phone communication in there. It has air-to-air missiles. It has ground-to-air missiles. It has references to airplane technology. Guys, the Bible has so many cool things out there. And I know I'm going off on a little tangent there, but what I'm trying to share with you is this is why we need to focus on that kind of stuff. We need to get back to that. That's the basis of the truth. We've gone so far off of the truth, and we
because that's what's made our nation go nutty. And when we do that and we focus back on the truth, the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. That's what this is about. It's not about you just getting rich for the heck of it. It's because the wicked have been taking it on themselves. But it's about you finding a way to help your neighbors. And that's what NESARA really is about. It's about coming back to a new reality in America, a new reality in Mexico, a new reality in Canada, a new reality in each one of these places, and living in a different way until the Lord comes. So I hope this helped you get an idea of all that stuff. There's more for us to talk about. There's more for us to do. There's more for us to interact in. There's going to be things that we haven't really expected, that I haven't expected. I'm going to learn a lot of things. We'll talk more as we go along, but just be calm. Just wait. You can't do anything about it. Just wait and watch it happen. Thanks so much.